Awesome. Could I get my hosts to introduce themselves?
Absolutely. My name is Mirne, and I'll be reading all your lovely people's donations. And would like to say good luck, Fuzzy Games, with your run.
Thank you. And my name is Fuzzy Games. I am a variety speedrunner, but you'll see a lot of Hollow Knight. So yeah, today we'll be doing an all skills run. I'm gonna go ahead and do a countdown and jump into it. If you folks are ready. So counting down from three, and I'll say go. So 3, 2, 1, go. So Hollow Knight is a bug-themed Metroidvania where the main character is a vessel composed of void. I might have just spoiled most of the story for you, and I apologize. Um, but there's a common misconception with the game that this little dude is the Hollow Knight, and by the end of the run, we will definitely prove that he is not, because we will find the actual Hollow Knight. So at the beginning there, I did a trick called an inventory drop. And that's something that's only available in this patch, which I'll go into shortly. But if you're starting out the game and you pause to regain control of the character, you can then open your inventory screen. And what the game does when you open that inventory screen is it tries to get you back to the ground as fast as possible. So it basically increases your fall speed to the point where you fall much faster. We take advantage of that in 1.2.2.1 because you can pretty much do it anywhere. And so I keep referring to 1.2.2.1. So if you played Hollow Knight casually, you probably played it on the current patch. Current patch is 1.4.3.2. And there are a lot of runs that happen on the current patch, but a lot of the main categories will happen on 1.2.2.1. That specific patch allows for a lot of tricks that you wouldn't be able to do in current patch. For example, that inventory drop that we did at the beginning has been patched out in the current patch. So there are a lot of tricks that we'll go for that are available in this patch. The biggest things are definitely the lever skips, which I'll go into once we get there. I got some nice flies there, so got a good inventory drop. But yeah, so we are making our way through Crossroads. We're going to be coming up shortly on the False Knight boss, which if you've played the game casually, you might have had a little bit of trouble with. He is a big dude in armor with a big mace. And we got a little bit of a surprise coming up in that fight. There is actually a different way to go about the fight that you might not have seen. So we're just going to make our way on through Crossroads. And if we have one donation, we probably have time for that. If not, no worries. And got pegged. But yeah, we can completely skip this guy. You can just jump over his head. That's pretty nice. We're going to try to get through here without taking too many hits. Although in the False Knight fight, we actually have a couple opportunities to heal. So that's not a big deal. So when you fight the False Knight, in between phases, you have to hit him 13 times to stagger him. So we're going to do that now. And we're going to try to do that before he ends up doing his attack at us. So we got it. And then we've got some time in between to heal. 8 times on the head. We'll get him out of the way. And then we're just going to leave him alone. We're technically done with the False Knight fight. So the developers put that crumble block in place so that you can just leave the fight. Now, what are the implications of leaving the False Knight fight without finishing it? Well, you don't get the 200 Geo after the fight, Geo being the currency in the game. So that's a good way to get some good money. But you also don't get the City Crest. And the City Crest is the vanilla way to get into the City of Tears. So, since we didn't get the City Crest, we're going to have to find another way into the City of Tears. And to do that, we're going to use a trick a little bit later on called a shade skip. And that'll happen in about 10 minutes, a little less than 10 minutes. So we'll go over that when we get there. But the shade skip is actually a trick that is available in all patches. So that's nice. You don't have to get the city crest in any of them, unless you really want to. So this is Ancestral Mound. We're just going to make our way on through. We have a fireball, as you just saw there, and that's going to allow us to beat the big boulder boss that's waiting for us here. So we're just going to kind of run past all these enemies. We don't have to kill any of them. We just try to hit them enough times to get enough soul, and we've got to do 4 fireballs at this guy, so we're waiting for him to shoot an enemy. He is giving me a million spits here. That's okay. We're probably up to like 12 spits right now. This is, wow. That's probably the worst RNG I've ever had. Like, by about 3 spits, but that's okay. We built time into the estimate for Baldurs to be mean, so it's all good. But yeah, so when you get Vengeful Spirit, the guy locks you in there, and he's like, hey, I've got this Baldur problem, I need your help. So we have to kill the Baldur to get out, so that's no big deal. We're going to make our way out. And now that we have the Fireball, we can actually do the same thing that we just did there and make our way into Green Path. So if you've ever seen any Hollow Knight runs, you'll probably notice that most of the categories that you'll watch will start exactly the same way. They will do Vengeful Spirit, they'll do Cloak, and real quick, I'm going to do a quick kill on this guy. There we go. So I get him to open up, and then I walk him off screen and shoot a fireball into him while he's off screen, and that insta-kills him. That is also only available on 1.2.2.1. On current patch, you have to do all 4 hits, as usual. So yeah, like I was saying, every run starts out pretty much the same. You got to get Vengeful Spirit, and then you get the dash ability, which is what we're going to get now, which is called Mothwing Cloak. And then after that, you get the double jump ability, which is Mantis Claw. So most runs start out that way because all of that movement tech gives you basically the freedom to navigate how you will. We went for the fireball skip, didn't get it, but that's okay. There is a backup here. Backup fly helps us out plenty, so we're just gonna try to pogo on his head. He's being friendly today. He's being super friendly today. I'm gonna reload the room, actually. Sometimes it just be like that. So let's get you over there. There we go. He's usually a little friendlier than that, but he's feisty this morning. I think we woke him up too early. So we're going to try for another fireball skip here. Nope. A little bit too low. So fireball skips. So what we're trying for there is we're trying to use the fireballs in midair to push us back horizontally. And that gives us just enough horizontal movement to be able to land on a platform that we wouldn't normally be able to land on, as long as we're high enough to get there. But they're kind of tricky, so, you know, you kind of just go for them, and if you don't get them, then you have backups for it. Not a big deal. That guy might have given you trouble when you were playing the game casually, but as long as we come into the fight with full soul, all we have to do is hit him as soon as he starts to come up for 1 hit, and then we do 3 fireballs, and he's done. So we're building up soul here, hitting these enemies. We want to get to about full soul, because we're going to go down and fight 2 more Moss Knights. And you noticed I passed Zode up there. We're not going to save him from the Vengefly King, and that's probably one of my favorite things about this category, is that we just leave Zode to die. Because he deserves it. So we're going to kill these Moss Knights because they give us a ton of Geo. And we're actually at a good Geo amount here, so good stuff. So throughout the run, I'm going to be keeping an eye on my Geo counts, because I need to buy specific things along the way. And now we're fighting Hornet. Hornet 1 is not as bad as the Hornet 2 fight, which will be later. We're just going to kind of try to stay on her and hit her with the nail a bunch. Oh, she's being friendly. Alright, we got them. And that gives us the Mothwing Cloak. So now we're gonna hop out of here. So you might have noticed that when we went from Ancestral Mound to here, we didn't take any benches. Well, when we were at Ancestral Mound getting Vengeful Spirit, it actually auto-saved for us. So when we save and quit, we go all the way back to here, which is really nice because the way down into Fungal Waste to get to Mantis Village is actually right around the corner here. So it saves a lot of time versus what the game normally has you do, which is you get the dash, it gives you a little bit of story, and then from there it has you go through a path to escape from that area to kind of show off what the dash does. But yeah, we're going to skip all that because we can just save and quit out. So. And we do use inventory drops here for some of the long vertical falls just to kind of speed things up a little bit. Coming up are my favorite characters in the game. The Owen Wilson mushrooms, they're my favorite. So we're making our way on down, and we're going to be coming up on another trick that's called Explosion Pogo. And this trick is a lot easier on this patch. It's still pretty tricky, but it's definitely easier on this patch than in current patch. And the idea is that we're going to use the projectile of one of the enemies in here to pogo, and then we're going to pogo off of the explosion that the projectile has as well. So we're going to get 2 pogos to line up with that entrance up there on the top left. Okay, we got that. So that saves about 30 seconds. That is much faster than going around to gain entrance to the Mantis Village. So, okay. So we try to use those flyboys there to get enough vertical height there to get to the Mantis Claw, but it didn't quite work out. So, so we're gonna go ahead and go around and grab it here. So Mantis Claw is our wall jump ability. And now that we have those 3 things, we are ready to get to the part of getting into the City of Tears. So we're going to head that way now. On the way, we're going to take down a mini-boss called the Gruzmother. Not really a difficult mini-boss, just kind of in the way. And at the area where we do the Shade Skip, we're actually going to pick up the only relic that we pick up in the entire run. The only charm that we get is called the Shaman Stone. And you might know what it does already, but the Shaman Stone is a charm that that powers up your spell power. So it's going to be really helpful. We have a lot of fights where we're going to be using a lot of spells, so we definitely want that help. So we've built up enough Geo to get that and to have some left over so that we can start saving up towards our first nail art, which we'll be getting in a little while. So, all skills, just to recap, is we have to get all of the movement abilities, we have to get all of the spells, and we have to get all of the nail arts. So I'll kind of call those out on the way, but so far we've had 1 spell and 2 movement abilities, in the Vengeful Spirit being the spell, and Cloak and Claw being the 2 movement abilities. So, decent cleanup there. Whenever you fight the Gruz Mother, it is shown that she is actually a mother and has a bunch of tiny flies that will also try to kill you. It's wonderful. So, we pick up the Shaman Stone. We're going to go ahead and equip that here. And then we will go ahead and take a lot of intentional damage here. And I will take a sip of water while we do that. Okay. So we have our Shade here. We give him a light little tap. And then we use him to pogo up to this entrance that we wouldn't normally be able to get to. So when you die in Hollow Knight, the spot that you died in has a ghost of your former self called the Shade. And that Shade also has your Geo on it. So when you go to recover your stuff, this Shade attacks you. Well, we actually use that to our advantage to use him to pogo up to an area that we wouldn't normally be able to access. So this elevator takes us down into the City of Tears. We have to do a preliminary hit before we do the Shade skip, because the Shade takes 2 hits to destroy. So we do a single hit before going for the Shade skip, and then the second hit knocks it out while we also get the skip. So I'm grabbing some soul there, because I'm going to need it for here. We're going to knock these guys out for some money. Again, we're trying to work towards a total of money here. Specifically, we're working towards the money for Dash Slash, which is 800 Geo. So we're at about 280 right now, which is pretty good. We're going to end up using a hidden enemy in the City of Tears to get a fair amount more Geo. So you may or may not have found this one if you played the game casually. But he gives up about 400 Geo, which is really nice. So we're going to hop through this hidden entrance here. Okay, and we're going to gather all that up, and then we're going to save and quit out. So we're at about 760 Geo, which is good. Oh, 760 on the dot. Awesome. So we're trying to get to 800. On the way to Dash Slash, there are a bunch of bugs that we can go ahead and knock out and get some Geo from, so we're going to go ahead and do that. And we're just going to ignore all these guys. They like to fly at us and explode, but if we just kind of keep going, they don't make it in time. So we're going to fall on down here, grab the wall there so that I get a dash back. And here are the bugs that I'm going to kill for Geo. So I need about 40 Geo here. Which we've... Well, we got 30. That works. Oh, we picked up 10 before. Gotcha. So this is Kingdom's Edge. We make 2 trips into Kingdom's Edge. one for the dash slash down here, which is kind of out of the way. And then the second time we'll be fighting the second Hornet fight. Which is optional, technically. So you don't have to fight the second Hornet fight before you beat the game. But when you do the Hornet 2 fight, you get an item called the King's Brand. And that's going to give us access to a couple of skills that we need for the run. So you won't see Hornet 2 in any percent runs, but you do get to see it in all skills. So we just got our first nail art called the Dash Slash. Dash Slash is really useful because in this patch, excuse me, in this patch we're able to go for a couple dash slashes where we can hit a lever through the door. So we'll demonstrate that shortly. Lever skips are definitely probably one of the best parts of running on 1221. Because the programmers like to put the lever right behind the door that it opens, which is normally a good way to taunt people about not being able to get through the door, but in this case it actually puts the lever close enough to the door for us to hit through the door to get to it. So we hit the lever through the ceiling there, and we're just going to go ahead and pop through here. We can't see where we're going there because the game expects you to hit the lever on the left side to expose that area, and since you didn't, the whole area is still dark. So we kind of have to just go by feel there. But we are making our way up into Soul Sanctum. And the next thing we'll get is we're going to go ahead and get the Shade Soul ability, which is going to power up our fireballs, which is really nice. So up we go for that. And normally we wouldn't be able to get Shade Soul without getting the Elegant Key. But in 1221, you're able to climb up here to this back entrance, and then dash slash through, which hits the lever, and we'll just go ahead and grab Shade Soul. And this skips having to get 800 Geo for the Elegant Key. This skips having to fight the Soul Warrior. So it's really convenient. But Shade Soul plus the Shaman Stone lets our fireballs do significantly more damage than they normally would. So we're going to be using that to great effect on the mini-boss up here, which is the other Soul Warrior. The first one, technically, because you wouldn't normally be able to get to the second one yet. And the Soul Master, which is the boss of Soul Sanctum. And if you have played through Soul Sanctum casually, you probably remember the Soul Master well. He is friendly. Oh, speaking of friendly, this guy. He is giving me some interesting patterns here. Alright. Nice, dude. Come on, man. Okay. Right. So we're going to charge a dash slash to get through this door. And yeah, we are on to the Soul Master fight. That room was a little more dangerous. Soul Sanctum is kind of one of the hated areas of the game just because of how dangerous it can be. But we're doing pretty alright here. So Soulmaster, I remember when I when I played through this game originally, I got excited when I finally beat the Soulmaster because I found this fight to be pretty tough. And then I was greatly dismayed to find out that he had a second phase. So we're gonna try to just power through his first phase real quick, using that powered up fireball that we were talking about before. There we go. And there we go. That's the second phase. He normally takes a couple of nail hits and then 2 fireballs. Again, because those fireballs are much more powerful than they'd normally be. So now we have another spell called the Desolate Dive. And the Desolate Dive is important here because we only have 2 ways to get into Crystal Peaks, which is the next area that we're headed to. One way involves getting the Lumafly Lantern, which would allow us to see in the dark and use a toll area to get into Crystal Peaks. But the top entrance to Crystal Peaks is a area of ground that you can break with the Desolate Dive. Which is the way that we're going to get into there. And Crystal Peaks has one of the most helpful movement abilities in the Crystal Heart, which allows us to do a continuous horizontal dash, basically. It just kind of propels us through the air horizontally until we either break out of it or hit a obstruction. So we're going to head to that shortly. And Crystal Peaks will also be the first opportunity for us to do a dark room. I'm 12 geo short of what I want to be at here, so we're going to try to pick up some off these enemies up here. My goal is to have 300 geo, so that I'm able to get the King Station Stag, which we're good to go on. So the form of fast travel in this game is the stag stations. So we always try to use those whenever we're close to one to just kind of speed up what we're doing. And King Station Stag actually ends up being central to a lot of the things that we're going to try to get. So we're going to get that early and try to make good use of it. So while we make our way to Crystal Peaks, if there are any donations, feel free.
None in yet. We are still waiting for some awesome people to get theirs in.
Awesome. Yes, please donate to the cause. I'm sure plenty of folks have people either in their lives or in their friendships that have been affected by cancer. So, donate to a good cause. Enjoy the show. Alright. So yeah, King Station is the only stag that we've gotten, except for the Dirtmouth stag that the game gives you by default. But that's okay, because Dirtmouth is actually one of the places that we would want to go to get to Crystal Peaks anyways. So we're building a little soul on the way here because we have to do that dive. But we also want a little bit of soul going into Crystal Peaks so that we have some freedom to use fireballs on some of the enemies, which will make it a little easier. So we're just kind of pogoing off of enemies to grab a little bit of soul. Soul is what we use for using spells and things like that. So We're going to skip the elevator here because it is way slower than just climbing the wall. And here is the entrance to Crystal Peaks. And again, you'll notice that I'm opening the inventory screen on occasion. That is because in this patch we have full access to inventory drops. So we're going to try to use those on as much occasion as we can. I'm going to grab some soul from you. Normally you can't hit those big enemies while they're walking away from you, but if you do an up slash, it will end up damaging them under their shell instead of behind them, which is really helpful. So we're just making our way up through Crystal Peaks to try to get to the Crystal Heart ability. That damage boost is intentional to get through the lasers there. And yeah, we're gonna drop back down a little bit and then we'll be headed over through another set of lasers, which we have a little bit of a pattern for. And then we'll be grabbing the Crystal Heart. So we're going to wait for that one to go away. That's our cue. And then we'll just kind of go through here, trying to time it to get through the lasers, and that worked out well. They're on a cycle, so as long as we know when we're coming into the cycle, we can usually kind of predict what our timing needs to be for that. So this is the Crystal Heart. As you can tell from the great animation there, we just kind of propel ourselves face first into the unknown with a really powerful horizontal dash. This dash also does a little bit of damage, so sometimes we're able to dash through enemies that have fairly low hit points, which is really convenient. You don't really want to be stopped by, you know, some of the weaker enemies in the game. You just kind of want to blast on through. Go fast.
Do we have time for a donation?
Yeah, go for it.
Shoutouts to Slorent with that $5 saying, "Good luck on the run, Fuzzy. Try not to die to Hornet too."
Oh, the cursed donation. I approve. Thanks, Slorent. So we're doing the first of 2 dark rooms in the game, and we'll go ahead and reset the room here real quick. But first of 2 dark rooms, and it's pretty tricky because there are a lot of precise jumps that you have to do here. So I'm gonna focus just a tiny bit. That's unfortunate. Alright, let's give it one more shot. That is unfortunate. So we're gonna have to make our way back to Crystal Peaks here real quick. Yep. Just unfortunate luck. That's what can happen if you just kind of, yeah, just have trouble with the dark room. So. But we do have the Crystal Heart, which speeds things up a little bit, so. So we're making our way back to Crystal Peaks. It's probably regarded as one of the main areas in the game that can kill your run. It's pretty tough. Just the combination of having to do a bunch of intense platforming, followed by a dark room that is pretty rough. It's a dangerous area for sure. Alright. And we are going to try to hold on to a little bit of soul here, because the easiest way to get our shade back is definitely going to be to fireball it in the dark room. Because we're still going to have to deal with that dark room, unfortunately. So a couple heals, and then we'll grab some soul on the way. Yep, and then let's go back down. Actually, I'm going to grab some soul from this guy. He's probably the easiest one to grab soul from. There we go. Okay. First part. And we're through. So that's not too bad. We don't really worry too much about the damage that we take in that dark room, because all we have to do here is grab the Descending Dark, which is a more powerful version of the Desolate Dive. And it counts towards our all skills goal. So we're just gonna go ahead and pop through all these platforms. And since we have enough health here, I do get to show off a trick that you can do here. So we're gonna hit this crystal 7 times. Because it requires 8 hits to get rid of. And then we're gonna charge a dash slash here and dash slash into the crystal. And what that does is that on the last hit, it starts to give us the ability, but we get stuck in the dash slash animation, so we fall off the side, get hit by spikes, and respawn, so that while it's giving us that ability, we can just freely move. So that saves the time for the cutscene there, which is pretty nice. So there are the 3 Dreamers that we have to get. If you've ever seen any Hollow Knight run, you've probably seen that in order to get into the Black Egg to fight the final boss, there are 3 seals on the Black Egg door. Those correspond to each Dreamer. So we're going to be going to find each Dreamer and using the Dream Nail that we get here to jump into their dreams and steal their power and release the seal. So we're going to take advantage of the fact that we have this nice crystal dash here to just go ahead and propel through the dream area a little bit faster than we normally would be able to be. And Yeah. And since we have this dream nail, we are going to go ahead and save and quit out at the first opportunity to go back to the bench that we already saw. I unfortunately spoiled it already, but we bench Inspire, and then we go do a bunch of stuff in Crystal Peaks. And that allows us to save and quit right back to Spire, where we want to be able to fight the Watcher Knights. And we benefit a lot from having the Descending Dark ability, which lets us do a lot of damage, and it also has the secondary effect of giving us invulnerability frames, which is really nice. So we're going to take advantage of that quite a bit. Each Watcher Knight is going to take 3 Descending Dark hits, so we're just going to kind of build up soul and take these guys out. So 3 hits. There we go. And then it'll spawn over here. So we use the Dream Nail. Whenever you hit an enemy with the Dream Nail, it builds soul, which is really handy. So we take great advantage of that while these guys are spawning. That was an unfortunate roll. Oh, this one has a lot more health than I expected. We'll go ahead and de-dark him. There we go. Tried to get cheeky with a couple fireballs, but I think a couple of my D-darks didn't hit him there, so that's okay. And here we're going to grab a giant 650 Geo chest, which is really nice because there's some stuff that we have to spend money on coming up in the run. And that 650 Geo chest pretty much accounts for almost all the money that we'll need through the entire rest of the run. So, saves a lot of time to just grab it there versus having to farm it off of a bunch of other things. And this is the first Dreamer. We're going to run up and whack him with the Dream Nail and steal his soul. And go ahead, Mirne.
Yeah, so we just got a $10 donation from Verts505. No message, but thank you so much for the donation. You guys are supporting a fantastic cause.
Thank you for the dono. I appreciate it. So yeah, you can see there we broke the first seal. We've got 2 more seals to go. So we're just kind of snaking our way around the map, picking up various skills as we make our way to each Dreamer. So the next Dreamer will be a little bit, we got to pick up a few abilities first. Nice long fall there that I can take advantage of an inventory drop, which is nice. So yeah, we're going to make our way out, and if you've ever seen an all skills run, you're going to see something a little bit different here. I actually do a slightly different route compared to the other all skills runners that you might see. And in that I get wings first. So the Monarch wings give you a double jump ability that you can use anywhere in midair. It's really convenient. We actually get the wings before Yzma's Tear, which is an ability that lets us swim in acid, because the path to get to Yzma's Tear involves a couple of acid skips, and the wings end up making those acid skips a lot safer at the cost of very little time. The reroute is about 6 minutes slower, or 6 seconds. Ooh, if it was 6 minutes slower, that would be terrible. It's about 6 seconds slower than the normal route. So we're definitely going to do that for marathon safety. Have all the marathon safety.
Do you have one quick moment, Bessie?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so when Sloran donated his $5, it is now runner's choice to what it goes towards.
Okay. Well, what are my options?
Right now, we have a bid war going on for Power Fighters, and it looks like another bid war for Doom.
What's the bid war for Power Fighters?
It looks like Mega, Proto, Bass, and Duo.
I'm gonna go Bass.
All right, you guys heard it. We're going Bass.
Oh, yeah. So we're making our way through Ancient Basin right now. These guys are a little friendly. They like to shoot a bunch of projectiles at you. And we try to get through there fairly unscathed. We're gonna grab a bunch of soul there. Coming up on this boss fight with Broken Vessel, we'll have some time to heal. And Broken Vessel is the guardian of the Monarch Wings ability. So once we take him out, we'll grab the wings and bounce on out of here. Also, when you're fighting Broken Vessel, you'll see a lot of those little orange enemies coming towards him to jump in his head for some reason. But if you slash the ones that are farthest away, that will actually make the fight start a little bit faster. Because he won't have to wait on those things to show up, So we try to do that. There we go. That is Broken Vessel. So as you can tell, Descending Dark is probably the best ability in the game. It has 3 different hits that cause damage. So if you Descending Dark inside the hitbox of an enemy, you have a pretty good chance of all 3 hits hitting and doing massive damage. But you also, every time you do Descending Dark, you get a certain number of invulnerability frames. In current patch, they actually reduce the number of invulnerability frames that you get from it. But yeah, for 1221, we just get to enjoy the full amount. So we're going to go ahead and pop out of here. We've got wings. We got a little bit of backtracking that we'll have to do to get Yzma here, but it's no problem. So we're going to make our way there now. So this is another stag station. This is one of the last ones that we'll get. In fact, I think this is the next to last stag station that we'll get. But this one's convenient because we're actually going to have to come back here at some point after doing the Hornet 2 fight, because this is our closest access to the Abyss area. So we're going to bench here to take advantage of a save and quit in a minute. And then we're going to go get our Yzma tier ability, which has a couple of fun skips. So the first one is going to be a Spike Tunnel Pogo, which is pretty fun. Alright, so we're going to drop back down here as before. And then we're going to land here, and we're going to make our way into this tunnel. There we go. It's a little precise. It's not uncommon to miss it the first time, so no sweat there. And then we're just gonna C-dash over the acid there. And for the second one, we have wings to make it super free. So if I had missed that, I probably would have been a little bit disappointed. But we're going to go ahead and grab our Yzma here, and then we'll be saving and quitting out. Alright, so now we are headed into Kingdom's Edge for our second trip, in which we'll be going to fight Hornet 2. So Hornet 2 is probably the most dangerous fight in the game. If Crystal Peaks is the first run killer, Hornet 2 is definitely the second one. So we will be grabbing a safety bench here for marathon safety. She is a tough cookie. So in the first Hornet fight, you saw that you know, she just kind of jumped around at you and had a couple of attacks, but nothing major. In this one, she has a couple more attacks, and they're pretty tough to deal with. She's also significantly faster than she was in the first fight, so we're gonna try to cope with how vicious she can be sometimes. I will say, though, this is probably the coolest arena to fight anybody in ever, because you get, like, this whole windy, dramatic thing going on. I love it. Come on. She's doing a lot of parries right now. Being super friendly. All the parries. Oh my god. Lady, come on. Alright. Not too bad.
We got time for another dono?
Yeah, let's go.
All right. Thank you, Saren, for the $25, saying get good gamer or Hornet will bring all the shop. Thank you so much, Saren.
Thank you for that dono, Saren. I appreciate you. What? Game is broken? I'm gonna save and quit out. I think that'll just put us back right there at the after the death scene. So, oh, okay, there we go. So one of the unfortunate things about running on an old patch is sometimes you get some weird glitches that happen. So, there we go. I was like, come on, let's not soft lock today. That'd be lovely. So yeah, off we go. We have defeated Hornet 2. We got the King's Brand, which gives us access to the Abyss area. So we're gonna make our way back to Civilization now. And our next thing up is going to be another nail art in Cyclone Slash. So we got a lot of backtracking to do to get back to the King Station, Stag Station. Like I said, that's kind of the hub of a lot of our travel. So we use that quite a bit. And we're going to go ahead and bench when we get here. Since Cyclone Slash is so far out of the way, we really don't want to have to backtrack from getting it. So we're going to just grab this bench right here, and then go grab the ability, save and quit back out, and we can continue on our way. So this is one of the things that I kind of enjoyed finding when I played the game originally, casually. Is, you know, obviously this is the King's Pass area where you start, but there's actually a hidden passage right here that leads to a mid to late game area that I don't feel like a lot of people would have found by themselves. And I don't know, it's just kind of creative. Just putting something back at the very beginning of the game where you would expect that people just have no interest in returning to. And it ends up just being a whole entire other area of the game, which is pretty cool. So this guy loves his queso. He's gonna give us his nail art, and we're gonna run on out. So coming up next is going to be the second Dreamer that we have to get. And he is also guarded by a boss, much like Lurien was guarded by the Watcher Knights. So we're going to have to go fight everybody's favorite giant jellyfish, Umu. So we're just going to go ahead and make our way back through the infected crossroads. Originally when we went through Crossroads, it wasn't infected, but once you defeat a Dreamer, it is. And that leads to much more powerful enemies that you have to deal with. And yeah, it's just a general annoyance in most cases, but we got through there fairly unscathed, so that's pretty nice. So, all the jellyfishes, we're just going to ignore most of them. We're going to build a little soul off those little guys, though. And this is the library where Umu is and where the second Dreamer is. So we're just going to go ahead and grab a bench there, build a little more soul on the way. We want to try to get to full soul for Umu, and there we go. And if we needed soul here, we could do that as well. But we are at full soul, so we're just kind of waiting. The unfortunate thing about Umu is that you can't actually damage him until one of the NPCs, Quirrell, shows up and hits him with his weapon. So we kind of have to just wait around for him to get done attacking us. Hopefully, there he is. I was like, hopefully he shows up. So we'll build some soul here. So we're going to try to defeat Umu in 2 phases. Almost. I've got enough soul. I think he's only 1 fireball away currently. So we just gotta wait for him to get done attacking us, and then we'll be good to go. Yeah. So with Umu gone, we can just kind of make our way down to the Dreamer that's down here. Nice and hidden away. But with the help of the person that also helped us fight Umu, he's going to use his magical mask powers to reveal the second Dreamer. So we kind of just jump into their head, whack them a couple times, and then steal their powers. And that's going to break the second of 3 seals. So after this, we'll only have 1 more Dreamer to go. And like we did before, we're going to grab a couple more abilities along the way. Unfortunately, the Cyclone Slash that we got and the Great Slash that we're going to come up on shortly, we actually don't use at all in this run. Because we have Shaman Stone and really powerful spells, we really don't have a lot of use for the Nail Arts. The only reason why we use Dash Slash is because it lets us sequence break. So we're going to make our way on back out. And we'll grab a bench here, because we got a couple things to get in this area. So we're going to bench here and use that to save and quit back in a little bit. So Great Slash is actually all the way in Green Path. So we're going to have to make our way from Fog Canyon all the way back to Green Path. And yeah, that'll be a little bit of a trip. So we're back in Green Path. We gotta snake our way back around. And there are some categories that have access to the Green Path stag, because there's a stag directly underneath the Hornet 1 fight. But in this one, our geo tends to be so tight that we skip the Green Path stag, because having to get the Green Path stag and then having to also build back up that geo for all the stuff we need to buy would be pretty tough. So we can C-dash into this room safely, because in this patch, that guy will always move out of the way in time. In current patch, he does not, so we kind of have to respect him a little bit on that. But we're going to make our way through these guys and make great use of the C-dash, because we would not have access to this area without it. And there we go. So normally they have you go all the way around the room, but with a pretty lenient double jump there, you're able to get up the right side instead and just jump right up to this Nail Master. And he gives us the Great Slash. So next up, we're going to grab the precursor to what's going to end up being our most powerful spell. It's also the requirement for us to get the most powerful spell, other than King's Brand, which we already have. So I mentioned before that Abyss has two of the strongest abilities that we'll get. And in the Abyss, there is an ability that is an upgrade for the one that we're getting right now. This is Howling Raids, and the upgrade will be Abyss Shriek. So what we've got to do is we've got to use Howling Raids in the area that has Abyss Shriek to get the more powerful version. So we're going to go ahead and grab that here. It just so happens that we also have the final Dash Slash of the game to skip a door, and that's going to skip a gate right below this area. So first we gotta fight an arena full of mosquitoes. They are the guardians to the Howling Raids ability. So go ahead and pop him real quick. Okay, there we go. He was waiting right in the way. He wanted a friend. Not today, mosquito. But there we go. Howling Raids is pretty powerful on its own. And it has a nice area of effect above you. But we're going to go ahead and upgrade that before we go into any major fights. We're also on the way to the third Dreamer. And this Dreamer does not have a boss guarding it. Normally it would have a preliminary area that you'd have to get through with a large number of enemies to deal with, but we're not going to have to deal with that. Also, that guy's needles have really interesting hitboxes, so I don't know why, but for whatever reason, they just kind of don't hit you sometimes when they look like they go straight through you. So, we got them out of the way. We're going to go ahead and do a skip here, where we actually take advantage of the fact that the loading zone for the bottom area there is sticking up just above the spikes in that specific area. So what we do is we die on the spikes right where that loading zone is sticking up. And because we're in that other loading zone and we died, it says, okay, I need to spawn you where you died, which is in this loading zone, even though we were above it. That's also been fixed in current patch, unfortunately. So we're coming up on Dark Room number 2 here. This one is definitely easier than the Crystal Peaks one, but can still be fairly dangerous. So I'm going to focus just a little bit. Last room. And there we go. So normally you would have done that room when you have the lantern, but because the lantern costs 1800 geo, we actually can't afford it in this category because that would require us to farm a ton of extra geo. So we just don't, and we just do the room dark. And this is Beastin. Normally you would sit in that bench and there would be a cutscene that would play, and you would end up having to start at the beginning of Beastin. But because we have the Monarch Wings, we're able to skip that. And we just use that guy who's sleeping to grab some soul. And we'll just go ahead and fireball that guy to get him out of the way. And here is Dreamer number 3. So if you have any donations, feel free. So after getting this third Dreamer, we'll break the third seal on the door, and that means that we can technically take on the Hollow Knight. But before we do that, because this is all skills, we have to grab 2 more abilities. So we're going to make our way down into the Abyss, which is a pretty scary area. And it has 2 really powerful abilities that we're going to want to get. That guy is friendly sometimes. He likes to back up. That's okay. Those Devouts are pretty tough. They do 2 damage with some of their hits, and they have a ton of HP. So we try to not deal with them that much whenever we don't have to. And this is the last stag that I had to get. I was building up to 250 geo, which we cleared with no problem. So we're back to Hidden Station. Hidden Station is the closest area to the Abyss. The Abyss is the final area that we'll get into before fighting the Hollow Knight. So here's the door with the King's brand on it. Now that we have the King's Brand, it opens right up. And we'll just go ahead and pop on through here, hit an inventory drop right where that vine is falling down. And then once again here, and we're at the bottom. So this area coming up, we're gonna have to deal with some enemies that look kind of like our Shade, and they are dangerous. They deal 2 damage to us, so we really don't want to get hit by them. There's usually one waiting up there for me. I'm really glad he had a change of heart. So it's a little scary to come up on that bridge and have to deal with that. So, but no worries there. We are sea dashing our way over to get the Shade Cloak, and Shade Cloak is really useful, especially in the Hollow Knight fight where he tends to do a lot of parries. Shade Cloak, when you start to use Shade Cloak, it gives you invulnerability frames. And that's really nice, because then you can just pass through objects that would normally deal damage to you, which is really convenient. And we save and quit there because it still gives us the ability, but there's a cutscene that usually plays for getting that ability. If we save and quit out, it doesn't play, and because Hollow Knight is timed on in-game time instead of RTA, that actually saves time. So we're going to make our way to the second ability coming up. He just wanted to give me a high five for good luck. I appreciate that, dude. So we're going to build a little soul here. So if you remember, I said the other thing is a more powerful Howling Raids. So we're going to pop in here, use the little bit of soul that we built to use Howling Raids, or to use, Howling Raids, and that will give us Abyss Shriek, which is the more powerful version. Abyss Shriek is also the main attack that we'll use against the Hollow Knight. So we're just going to go ahead and pop on out of here. And we don't have any convenient ways out of the Abyss, so we're going to have to do the climb, unfortunately. But while we do that, we're going to try to build a little soul along the way. Because the next thing we're going to have to do is fight the Hollow Knight. So we're just going to tap a couple enemies on the shoulder, let them know that we're just stopping through to grab a little bit of their soul, no offense. And that'll make this fight a little bit better for us. So we're pretty close to full. I'm good with going into the fight at this level of soul. And like I said at the beginning, the Hollow Knight is the last boss in the game. It is not the main character. The main character doesn't technically have a name, but if you have a name that you'd like to give him, feel free. Because I think the lore doesn't actually name him at all. Alright, got a health refill, and we're going to pop on through to the fight. So this area is infected too, and we're coming up on the door that we saw after every Dreamer. All 3 seals are gone, and so it is going to open right up, and whatever could be inside is going to give us a very menacing scream. So this is the final fight of the game. Time will be once the final cutscene starts, so I'll call that out. I'll try to give y'all a little bit of heads up. But there is a very dramatic moment at the end where we're going to have to absorb this guy's essence and wait on that cutscene to show up. Second phase. He's being friendly. Alright, third phase. So we're going to use this opportunity while he's stabbing himself to build some soul. And then we're just going to deal some heavy spell damage to him. So you can see we use Abyss Shriek to great effect here. And there we go. So time will be when the ending cutscene starts. It's in about 20 seconds. Really epic absorbing of all the power. Time. And that is Hollow Knight Allskills. We had a couple bumpy moments in there, so, you know, what are you going to do with Marathon luck? But I hope that you guys enjoyed that run. I have a lot of fun showing it off. I think it showcases a lot of cool areas in the game, and you get to use some of the most powerful spells in the game, so what's not to like, you know? So I hope you all enjoyed it. Thank you for the opportunity to run here. And remember to support the cause. It is a very worthy cause. So think of those family or friends that you've had maybe dealing with cancer. And you don't have to give a lot. And you don't have to give if you can't. But if you can, you know, try to find it in your heart and give towards that cause. And thank you so much again.